Welcome to Rabbit Holes with Aaron.
And me.
Aaron. And, I'm a 20-year Marine Corps veteran. I've got a lot of little things that going on, beekeeping, podcasting, pottery, workshops, are a few of the things. And today with me, I have Cameron.
Hi.
Introduce yourself, Cameron.
My name is Cameron. I guess this is the second episode we're recording together. If this looks familiar or sounds familiar, it's because it is. But yeah, I'm a self-employed producer of like video and websites, things like that, through a company that's called Mythmaker Media. And then also I live in a van and that's a little bit of what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. So we put our heads together and explored all kinds of ideas, and we decided to at least start talking about the nomad lifestyle. We've got two people here, me and Cameron, that are not necessarily experts, but we are a lot of miles down on this journey, and many more miles to go, hopefully. And so we wanted to share that experience a little bit with you. So what comes to mind at first, Cameron?
Yeah, I think the first thing whenever someone that I don't know talks to me or asks me questions even about like nomad lifestyle, they'll probably call it, for me, because I live in a van, they call it van life, RV for Aaron, but the first thing that I always feel I'm confronted with is their perception of what that is. Because they've seen social media and TikTok and Instagram and all these idealized versions of what van life is like, and it's not actually, there's parts of truth in that, but then there's also a lot of editing of things that are in it that they've removed from it. And so, yeah.
What are some of those things?
The biggest one is I feel like they cut around the realities of living small. I think that's the biggest one of just like, for me, I'm full-time. I live in the van all the time. I travel, across Texas and then up to Ohio and, out to Colorado and hope to go to California at some point with the van and stuff. But when you're living in, I have 66 square feet, 6 feet wide, 11 feet long, for everything to fit, everything has to have a place. And if it doesn't, if it's not something I use at least once every week, it doesn't go with me. It has no place in the van because I don't have the space for stuff. And also the same thing, consumerism and like buying of things. I am almost the opposite of a consumerist. I'm like, don't give me something I can't have. Where am I going to put this is the first thing that pops in my head. If someone gives me a gift, it's kind of weird. I love receiving gifts, but also where am I going to put this thing?
Well, and applicable things I do too is people try and hand me business cards, or flyers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no thanks. And they're like, no, it's for the fall festival coming up. I'm like, I live in an RV. I don't have counter space.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Also,
to somebody else.
Are you even going to be there when the event happens? Exactly. That's a great one. Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, you come by in the summer. I'm like, I don't live in Texas in the summer. Like, I'm sorry, I don't have AC whenever the van's not turned on, and I'm not going to run the engine all the time to cool down the van. I need to be somewhere that's comfortable most of the time anyway, especially at night when I want to sleep and stuff.
Yeah.
And actually, going back to like things that people don't realize, like that's a great example. The things before I moved into the van that I was most worried with, I wasn't prepared for, was the lack of control of climate, like air conditioning or heating, and then also the lack of having a bathroom right there with me.
Yeah.
You don't think about it until you don't have it, and then you're like, oh crap, this could be a problem. Like literally, oh crap.
I know.
And the RV is a little different. You do have a bathroom that has like a tank and stuff like that. And I have a backup. I call it the E-bucket, the emergency bucket. It is a bucket. It is for emergencies only, but I do have it because, problems happen, things come up, sometimes the bucket comes out kind of thing. And that's actually the only thing one of the few things in my van that does not come out weekly, but is always with me. But I use it for storing chemicals and things I don't want rolling around on the back. So it gets a use.
Double purposes, quadruple purposes. So yeah, I think about too. That's one of the things I love about an RV is the not for van life apparently, but like I have my bathroom with me everywhere I go, and so like my bathroom, my fridge, my bed, go with me. Well, and I'm kind of stationary right now, so they're still at home, which might be far away from me. But when we go on the road, they're with you everywhere. And I remember the time, to tell a quick story, I remember the time I was driving to Washington State, and it was during COVID. And I was like, I'll pull into a fast food restaurant and I'll just go use the bathroom real quick. And the fast food restaurants were closed. And I couldn't go through, well, the drive-through wouldn't help me there anyway. But I was towing an RV behind me. And I was like, man, I got to go really bad. Where am I going to go? And then, like, I looked at the RV and I'm like, oh, yeah, there's a bathroom in there. And it just, like, filled my heart with joy that no matter what part of deserted Texas or I was on the way to Washington, what 500 stretch of no but gas stations, I would still just pull over and have my bathroom.
It's funny that it's such a different experience between us. It's such a similar lifestyle. And I know a lot of people with vans have bathrooms. That was the decision I made because when I started, I mainly did what they call city dwelling or urban dwelling because I still had a job. I still had a location I had to be at. And actually, let's dive into that a little bit. That I can absolutely say is a terrible way to live in Texas, especially because of the summer. Bathrooms have plenty. There's a lot of bathrooms in a city, right? Everything can be your bathroom, but climate control is still missing. And when summer hits, Texas, just for those that don't know, Dallas is the area around Dallas where I live, and that temperature would be 102 or more every day. And of course, your van warms up in that heat. And then at night, it would only go down to about 80, 85. And the van is still much hotter than that. So the average temperature if at night would be in the 90s, which is very uncomfortable. And I struggled hard. It's 3 months a year. I was just like, well, it's awesome 9 months of the year. Those 3 months are terrible. And whenever I was still working in the city and stuff. And then I realized after I was no longer attached to a specific location job, I was like, this is so much better. Cause if it gets hot, I just go, I can just leave. I don't have to be here. Get up on a mountain somewhere and it's fine. Temperature drops and you're good to go. Yeah. But yeah, bathroom's still a thing. I use gyms. I have a gym membership at all gyms. That's what I do. Gyms are my between Planet Fitness and Anytime Fitness and all the other gyms that they have out there. There's always one that's nearby that I can use the restroom or take a shower in, and that's why I didn't put one in my van to start with. And honestly, I stand by that decision. I'm okay with it. The e-bucket is enough for me. Okay. It's a nice place, a good feeling in my heart. But the e-bucket's there. If things really get bad, I still have that.
Well, and we're getting an idea. I was thinking about how, if you think about your traditional home and all the things you have in there, a small list, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, garage perhaps, RV and van life forces you to take that picture and deconstruct it into its parts, into maybe 10 parts, maybe 100 parts. And then you've got to make a decision about what parts you want. Do I want, obviously a bed if you're going to sleep there, right? And so you get to kind of pick the parts of a home that you want, and you get to leave the other parts alone. Or maybe you got to make some hard sacrifices.
It's true.
And say, do I want to have guests? Do I need to have an extra bedroom? And you kind of got to make those small decisions. But I like the deconstructing part. Because deconstructing something breaks it down to its fundamental pieces, and you can kind of decide to reorganize those pieces.
What matters most to you. Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
Instead of buying a cookie cutter home where you guaranteed for open floor plan, high ceilings, marble countertops, and, a big bathtub and everything else, but it's funny because you seem like if you do the math, you lose so much.
Yeah.
But what do you get instead? Because it almost feels like I gain so much more somehow.
That's a really big part of it. That's one of the things I tell people that have that outside in perspective of like, oh, it seems so fun on Instagram. I was like, that's the part that's true. Like there is truth in that. It's not all just a bunch of smoke and mirror lies kind of thing with those videos. Like, I could go just be on a mountain for a week. I can live anywhere and it costs me nothing more than gas to be there. And that like mentality, that freeing state, like it's really, I would have a hard time going back to just living in one place. When I can just live anywhere right now.
Right.
A good example is like, oh man, taxes are getting high in this state or that state, or man, it costs a lot of money to live here in this city. I can just, unlike a normal person that's living in, sticks and bricks, they're going to be stuck in that until they can sell their house or move out of their apartment and get into something new. With the van, I'm like, I'm gone. It takes zero effort for me to just go somewhere else, which is, it's weird. It took, one thing I always tell people is it took a long time to change my thinking about what residence looks like residing in an area. Because, I've grown my whole life in buildings in a home of some kind that didn't move, and that's why the whole idea of, that's what we say nomad. It's not nomad in like I have to keep moving. It's nomad in the sense I get to decide when I want to change where I'm living. Exactly. And it takes almost nothing for me to change that. Mobility, yeah.
I mean, that's to put a bigger word on one of the big gains, right? So and why would that be big? Well, I mean, we've all probably heard of snowbirds, right? They're up in the northern states when it's summertime and it's 70 degrees during the day, 55 at night, and they're down in the south when it's wintertime. When it's below 40 degrees where they live, they are somewhere where it's 70 and sunny. So they keep it kind of, by being mobile, you can keep it to where you're in a temperature range that you enjoy.
Yeah, actually, I think you highlight a good point there. Because, if you had a normal house, you just turn the temperature up or down and you're fine staying there. Why give up all the comforts of home to do it that way? And it's the simplest word, I had to distill it down, is freedom. You lose a sense of freedom when you're in a home that can't move.
Right.
And the only way you can gain that level of freedom back is to be very rich and have multiple homes. Like that's really what it boils down to. Many people are not very rich and have multiple homes. Although they do exist. I know a couple of my friends are very rich and have multiple homes, and that's a thing. They just move to the other home unless their job prohibits it. And then they're like, well, I can't go to the summer home. I got to keep working here because I have the XYZ thing I have to do. And so there's these constraints still on your life. Whereas with nomadic life, the idea of being able to move anywhere, you make sacrifices on your work too, what types of work you take to benefit or still maintain the freedom of mobility. Your whole life almost becomes about that freedom of mobility. Which is, it sounds limiting, but it's not. It's truly freeing, being able to say, oh, I can just, even in work, like, because I'm talking about work in that instance, I can, as a freelance, videographer, website designer, I can say, hey, there's not good work here in Dallas, but I hear it's really good over in San Diego, and then just pick up and go over there now.
Right.
I can be local anywhere, which is not something you can do in any other kind of living situation.
Right.
It's still, and this is the thing, freedom is the true freedom I've found is the enemy of comfort. You have to give up levels of comfortability to have those levels of freedom. They almost can't coexist together. And it's something that my process is like, that's the difference between people that try it for a month or so and they're like, oh, this is not for me. And people that are like, I love this and I can't wait to, like, I can't imagine ever going back to a regular home.
Right.
It's that level, what level of comfort is their minimum level of comfort they can deal with. And also it can be changed. Good news, if you're interested and want to do this, you can change it. It takes a level of effort to get there though. Has that been your feeling of that too?
That it takes effort?
Or the comfort thing, like...
Oh yeah. Well, when I had this thought, I think it runs parallel, maybe disagrees a little bit, but so it's good for exploration. But
That's
all
right.
I had was like, freedom is my new comfort zone.
Oh, you're only comfortable if you're free.
I'm now comfort with freedom.
Oh, okay.
So you have to leave your comfort zone
Yeah,
to explore anything new,
there it is.
which is where the new knowledge, new understanding, new experience comes from. And the more experience you have and the more understanding and knowledge you have, the more aware you are, the more free you are.
Yep.
Freedom to do an exactly unique thing that only I can do or only I want to do. And acceptance of that, and I think that's a part of the freedom. A part of freedom versus comfort zone is, if you ever want better life, just know it's hardship.
Yeah.
And that's what leaving your comfort zone looks like.
I like that you went there, because that's something that I think about a lot, more now in the van than anything, but kind of get to get a little bit weird with it, just to think about things in storytelling, right? I've actually talked to Aaron about this in the past. In storytelling, there is no such good thing as a good story if there is no conflict. Like, if you think about it, all the best stories you've ever heard, every single one of them, movies, TV shows, books, whatever, there was a conflict that led to a resolution and a growth that resulted from that resolution, right? You cannot have a good story without the conflict. And that's something I realized before I ever lived in the van, and something that I kind of lived my life by. And I realized that van life really accentuates that, is the fact that I give up the almost the cage of comfort for the opportunity to experience new things, like you said, and it will absolutely lead to growth personally for me. And sure enough, that's exactly what's happened since I've been in the van. Yeah, it's uncomfortable a lot of times. It's not even just, I can't even say it's just in summer. If it's raining and it's even just a little bit warm, it's humid in the van than it's as humid in the van as it is outside. And humidity actually makes the temperature much worse or better, depending on how good or how much you like it, or currently it will accentuate that. I'll put it that way. And like, there's other things that you know, a great example, I don't have an oven in my van. And so if I want to make a pizza, well, I can't. There's no pizza being made. I can't creative my way out of that situation, other than going to a Papa John's and getting a pizza.
Why can't you just put a pizza on the top of your van, let it cook in the sunlight?
Okay, that is a creative way. I take it back, y'all. That's true. Honestly, in Texas, you could do that in the summer. Just put a
20 degrees.
sheet of foil on the hood of your car. Put the pizza on
the window inside the front dashboard. It would be 120 in like 30 seconds.
It is. I actually have a thermometer, of course, in my car. It is 120 to 130 degrees in the van during summer. Like every summer. If it's 102 outside, it's 120 to 130 in the van. So you can absolutely cook a pizza or, a steak or something. Give it enough time. You can cook anything that way.
I want to explore the idea.
Yeah, let's back up a little bit.
Of well, no, I mean, there's plenty to explore.
Yeah.
Running out of topics here.
I kind of think we kind of rabbit trailed off on something. We need to circle back on it.
Well, and this is one we didn't hit, but like, well, it comes back, with difficulty and choosing your hard and, and sacrifice. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I led myself back to it. So sacrifice, it's giving up something now to receive something greater later. It's said to be the best behavior human can have, and you can see all the financial benefits of money market and sometimes the stock market, sometimes not, but whatever, but you can see that if I give up a little bit, let me give up $50 a month right now. Maybe when I need it, when I'm retired, I'll have $600,000, depending on what age I start at. Or you could have $1 million if you start at the age of 14 or something like that.
But you're sacrificing in the moment to gain that later.
Sacrificing a little bit of pleasure or gratification right now for a delayed response. So, I'm kind of helping my future self out. Like, hey, future self, Aaron, I'm going to put $100 in your pocket for just exactly when you need it, like in your jacket, and you're putting it up for the wintertime or for the summertime, it's just leaving little, like, I love you notes for yourself in the future. Like, one day Aaron's going to check the bank account and be like, $1,200,000. I'm going to be like, man, I'm glad you made that decision, 14-year-old Aaron, or whatever.
Whatever.
But that's not me at all, but I'm just saying theoretically, like, I do not.
That's an example of financial sacrifice leading to financial security and growth. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And I think that's totally true. Like, the level of current sacrifice leads directly to your future growth, like 100%. Sometimes you get to choose that sacrifice. Sometimes the sacrifice chooses you. Yeah. And it's always better to choose it before it chooses you. But how do you deal with those situations where you're like, oh crap, I am forcibly being decided for me what the sacrifice will be? Like, how do you deal with that?
Well, I can tell you how I think about it, and I said it a minute ago, choose your hard. So what they say is choose your hard. Marriage or divorce, both ones are hard. Which one, you want to make a marriage work? That's hard. You want to go through divorce and child custody and whatever, burning all kinds of bridges in one decision, then, that's hard too. So, or go to the gym, that's hard. Running is hard.
Or not.
Or dying in a lazy boy slowly over the next 20 years is hard too. Which one do you want? Do you want one day just to not be able to get out of it? That one day for the paramedics to show up and haul you away? Either one's hard. And
that's actually true. I want to jump in on that. That one's a very true statement. Like, it's not just the lazy boy, that mental picture is there, but I mean, like, every day you have an opportunity health-wise to decide, I'm going to sacrifice a little comfort here for a lot of benefit later. And it's honestly not all that much. The inverse of that is I'm going to gain a little comfort for a whole lot of trouble later. Right. And that's equally true. So I just want to highlight that. 100%. That's how I get myself out of the freaking chair and get to the gym, Like, here's the thing though, I'm at the gym anyway, so I really have no excuses. That's my bathroom. So am I going to exercise before I go to the bathroom or after, whenever, or am I, just going to go in there and use it as a bathroom and that's it,
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a choice. It's a choice.
And it's funny that any little amount that you sacrifice at the gym, we were talking about this a minute ago, like, I walked in the door of the gym, it's a good day, right?
Yep.
Whether I do 5 minutes in crutches and leave, or get on the treadmill for 30 minutes, or I work out a whole body muscular system for 2 hours. Either one, all of them are going to give you benefit and gain.
Yeah.
And, sometimes I love what Jordan Peterson says, aim low. Sometimes showing up to the gym, walking on a treadmill for 10 minutes and leaving is a good first step.
Yeah. I want to jump in on that. We were talking about that before, and someone told me one time, a long time ago, I'm sure someone famous probably said it, but if you can just make today about 1% better than yesterday, even just like 0.01% better, it's a gain over the past. You've gained something. Yeah. And and going back to like the gym analogy, like, it's literally that level of, okay, if I can just make it in the door, I am 1% better than yesterday where I didn't go into the door at all. Or if I can just get on the treadmill for just even 5 minutes, and that's 5 more minutes than I did yesterday.
Right.
Or even if it's just 1 more minute, it's still a gain.
There's a big difference between 1 and 0.
That's right.
I mean, a world of difference.
It's an infinite difference, technically.
0, I did nothing. 1, I did infinitely more than 0.
It's a huge deal. And then, like, I think circling back to we're rabbit trailing hard. That's what this podcast is all about, right?
Absolutely.
But circling back to, like, that is, in my opinion, the nomadic lifestyle. Like you are forced into that. And if you're not okay with that, I think a lot of people sign up for it without realizing that's what they're signing up for. And like, then they find themselves very uncomfortable by what the situation is putting them in. And those are the people that I see trying it for a month or two, or even a year or two. And then they're like, no, I'm good. I'm out. I can't handle that anymore.
Well, and I've noticed, and maybe this is the reason. What do you think about people aren't very good at taking baby steps into stuff like that?
Oh, that's true. The people that I know that they jumped in with 2 feet. They didn't even try it beforehand. Like, just because anyone can do this. Anyone with a car, I'll say anyone without a car can do this. Go be homeless somewhere. Like literally that, like just get in your car if you have one. If you don't, walk somewhere, bring a pup tent or something and say, I live here now. It could be in a city, it could be in a forest, could be, you can make it as pretty as you like, or even as, the worst situation you can think of. But if you can go into that situation and live there now, like it sets you up to know, that's a very good indicator of what it actually is like to live nomadically. Because next day, you won't live there now, you'll live somewhere else now. And it's going to be just the same situation all over again on repeat.
Yeah, that's a good baby step. And I like that. Like if you walk away from that experience, if you try this,
yeah,
and you're like, so quiet.
I loved it.
I had time to think.
Yeah.
I felt freedom. Like I took deep breaths. Then maybe the nomadic lifestyle is for you.
Yeah, if you walk away from that experience thinking, I just experienced a small slice of life, like and it awakens something, then you're like, this is good for you. I can wholeheartedly say you will enjoy it. You will enjoy the freedom over the loss of the comfort. For me, before I even thought about doing van life, I used to go, I'd call it car camping. Rather than bringing a tent and having to set it up, I would just go camp, but I would just sleep in my car. And I had a car that I could, put an air mattress in. It was pretty decently sized SUV, and I loved it. I looked forward, as my vacation. Any chance I had to get away from the job and go do that anywhere, it didn't matter where it was, even if it was hot or uncomfortable or there were spiders. I hate spiders. Like no matter what, like I always went away from that experience, like for months, even years later, thinking back to that moment or those moments and be like, man, that was a great, great weekend. And like, that's what honestly convinced me that I would want to try van life. I didn't even know it was a thing when I started too. So that was interesting, finding out other people do this and they make Instagram posts about it. Like that was a wake up moment. I was like, really? Other people like this? Really? It seems like I'm the weird one, but I guess not. So yeah, that's a good nugget in that direction, I guess. Let's pivot a little bit.
Okay.
If you had, and the dogs are on alert, hopefully they'll calm down in a second. I'll restart so we can just edit this out. Okay, are we done? All right. Okay, so let's pivot for a second and maybe just answer me a question. If you did have $1 million, we're going back to your money finance thing, that hypothetical you put out there, would you continue to live the way you do now? Or not exactly the same way, but would you prioritize being nomadic over being anchored?
I would have a little bit more of both.
Okay.
So, I dreamed the dream of, having a little property with a little house on it, mm-hmm. with a nice bathtub and a good kitchen, and live in an RV most of the time and use a little dwelling for special stuff.
Yeah. And
then go back on the road again and visit wherever I want to. But I have a kind of a stable landing zone right now. So we went on different travels when we come back to the same friend's backyard.
Yeah.
And he says, we're the only one who are ever going to live there. Let him know one day if we don't want to come back. But he'll keep the light on for us, so to speak.
Wow.
And so we kind of got a little bit of that, except it's his property.
But that's funny that references back to our previous episode about friends, but when we get sidetracked here, friendship is a big deal because it allows you to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't change much. You would just add a little more to it.
I would add a little bit more being pegged down.
Okay.
In some way, and we kind of got that now, but I think Jill would also like to have a bigger garden. These are some of the things you don't have when you're on the road. You can't have bees.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
You can't have.
I mean, you can, but I don't think you want it.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to know what that world looks like.
Yeah, that's a bad time.
Yeah, you can't have people over. You know, because you don't have a stable place, you don't have that much room inside, and when you're moving around, you don't make friends that you have over to your house that fast. Although I imagine it could happen sometimes. But see, let's go back to 2022 when me and my wife decided she'd quit her job, and I'm already retired from the Marine Corps, and we'd go on the road. And, you know, she did the budget and the planning and the numbers, and she was like, I could quit my job. We'd go on the road. We could keep paying down our debt, live on the road, da-da-da-da-da. Now, here's some important factors to remember. Based on Texas gas prices, based on, well, pretty much Texas everything. And so there were some parts of the country that were experiencing Texas prices. And so we got broke a few times. But here's what we did. We went on the road. We visited 29 different states. We visited family and veteran buddies all over those states. We kind of hopped from family to family, which I bring this up because everybody has family that has property already. And so we found it was so much more fun to bring your own house to visit family.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how your family is, Cameron. I know a little bit. And I don't know how your family is, viewer, but I can guarantee there's issues. And living in the same space with them multiplies the issues times 100 or 1,000 or times infinity. And so to have my house safely parked in their driveway and I can go home whenever I want was amazing.
Yep.
I couldn't spend the night with some family. I could spend one night with some family, and I could spend a week with other family. But that family that was only 1 to 2 nights, I was there for 2 weeks in my RV. No problems, no hassles, no feeling like I needed to run for my life in that when I had the RV, because I'd just go out. I'm going to go to the RV now. It could be 4 p.m. It could be 9 o'clock in the morning. And they come to my door, and guess what they do?
You woke with the dogs. It was regular people. Just regular people here at the counter.
And so they would just knock on my door, and I'd say, come in or whatever, and they'd come to my house on their driveway or right beside their house or wherever. So that was the cool part.
I can fully confirm that because I just got back from a 2-month visit to my dad's house. I could not live there. I could not be in that space. I couldn't sleep in there. Let me put it that way. Climate-wise, it was too hot. They run their heater way higher than I can handle. But also, just there's a level of comfort that is, which is weird because I live in a technically more uncomfortable setting in my van, but I prefer it. It's the comfort that I like. And so before, if I visited, it would be for a weekend. That's about all I could handle. It'd be like a weekend. And that'd be itching to leave. Now I can stay for 2 months and it's fine. And more than that, not only is it fine for me, it's fine for them. They don't feel put out, one, that I'm taking up space or, anything like that, or using, anything in the house too much or anything like that. They don't have to tiptoe around me, like you said. I don't have to tiptoe around them, kind of thing. But more than that, it strengthens a relationship. Like going back to friendship and that kind of a thing. I can just be me there, and it's fine. Which, without the van, I know exactly what it was like because I used to go to visit my dad. And 1 weekend is about all I could handle. I could maybe make it to a full week, and that was pushing it, and I was going crazy.
What do you think of this idea?
What's that?
We both shared living with our families, but it's almost like artificial healthy boundaries.
Oh yeah, it's true. It enforces healthy boundaries.
It's like it's artificial. Like it gives them healthy boundaries. So this is my house. You knock on my door. You don't just walk in or whatever, which everybody understands.
Yeah.
everybody, it's just a social rule.
Yeah, you knock before you enter.
You do not go walking, especially in Texas, into somebody's house because that's how you get shot.
It's a bad time. Castle rules and all
In
that.
Texas, I knock on the door. I'm not going to do it because of dogs, but I knock on the door and I say, "Don't shoot. I'm a friendly."
I'm friendly. Holster that weapon.
I live in Texas, and that's what I do when I walk in anybody in Texas's house, right? So here it's amplified, but even I don't care where you are, it's not acceptable. We all kind of know you don't just walk into a stranger's house, and so you got these like artificial subconscious boundaries kind of set that people are already kind of trained to.
I got a question for you, Aaron.
Okay.
I know the answer. Are you an introvert or an extrovert? Or would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm up in the air.
I'll help you decide maybe. An introvert, in my opinion, and the opinion of many introverts, is somebody who gains energy by being alone. An extrovert is someone who gains energy by being around others.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm both, but I have things that fall in both categories. For instance, like I can get peopled out.
Okay.
Walmart is sometimes too many people.
Okay.
And I want to go home, put my noise canceling headphones on, and play a video game all by myself.
Yep. I get that.
So, well, maybe we're all in this balance or pattern.
I think it's a cycle, but I'm going to let you talk first.
Yeah, because I can spend too much time alone also, and I'd be like, I need to go out. I need human contact. Well, and I don't really need human contact, I guess, but I
can't be here.
feel this drawing to not be in this house anymore.
Yeah.
And I feel that like usually 2 times a day if I'm staying at home.
Interesting.
So I cannot. I mean, if I stay home all day long, and you can gather and collate the data here, but if I stay home all day long, like the next day, I cannot be at home.
Okay.
Bedtime.
So here's my thought.
Go ahead.
I consider myself an introvert because my default state is I want to be alone to gather energy. However, so I think of things as like a battery, like my social battery. I call it my social juice is the way I like to refer to it. I gain that social juice by being alone. Then once I have that, I can be around people and I can be interactive and I can enjoy it that time with other people. But if the juice gets to none, I've got to go. I cannot be around you. I'm sorry. I love you, but I can't be here. And what I've realized is the bottom, I used to be very familiar with the bottom of the tank being empty. What I wasn't used to is the top being full.
Okay.
And so what I've realized recently over the past couple of years is that it's actually a cycle for me. My default state is I want to be alone to gain energy. And once it comes to the top, I have to be around people to drain that energy back down and keep it. I want to be in the middle. I want to be right around here, right?
Yeah.
If I spend too much time with people, I will absolutely bottom out. And this is why I know that I'm an introvert, is because I fear the bottom out. I don't react well with social interaction. I'm going to say something or do something that's hurtful to somebody else. That I just know that. And that it's frustrating for me because I see it coming. As someone that lives a little way out in the future, I'm like, I know what's going to happen if I'm around you when the battery runs out. Those juices hit zero and I'm going to turn into Dr. Hyde, or Dr. Jekyll or whatever, whichever one's the bad one, right? But I realized, like, also if I let that thing get full and I leave it at the top, it starts to spoil. It starts to go wrong on me, and I start to have self-destructive tendencies, and I will just do bad things for me also. And so I have to. It's a balance. It's a balancing act, keeping it somewhere in the middle, not bottoming out, not hitting the top for too long. However, I can withstand being at full much longer than hitting the bottom.
Okay.
And that's why I know I'm an introvert. I think introverts are the same way. They can't be at they can stand being empty, or in their case, full. You know, they have lots of being around people, can't get enough of it. It sometimes is maybe a bit too much, but what they can't stand is being all the way down at nobody, no interaction for for any amount of time. Like once they hit to that point, oh, it's over. Like I can't handle this anymore, kind of thing. So I don't know. That's my theory on it. I'm only one person. I can only see one side of that coin.
Well, it just sounds like, you know, it's just a matter of, like, it's the same hourglass.
Yeah, just flipping it over.
If it's this way, introvert. If
Yep.
it's that way, extrovert.
Exactly. So I feel like every introvert has some level of extrovert in them. It's just they don't never want to see that the juices get to zero kind of thing. And that's one of the reasons why I love van life. Back to the, hey, look, we're standing on the main taproot of this of this rabbit hole.
Bring it on back.
Bring it on back, because van life for me, especially so van life specifically, not just nomadic life, van life, I've only got space for one person in there.
No people allowed.
I could be, if I was forced, I could just shove another person in there, but for any amount of time, it's going to grate on that other person very quickly.
It's like Cameron's Club. If you aren't Cameron, you're not a part of Cameron's Club.
You're not invited for now. I'm sorry.
There's not even a place for another person. Well, they could sit in the front seat.
There's places, but it'd be uncomfortable after some amount of time for the other person. And if it's my house and it's uncomfortable for them, who leaves? They leave. So it works out really well for me.
Yeah, I'm just going to be back here playing on my computer in bed. You enjoy the front seat, okay?
If I had curtains in there, if I had more than the one curtain in there, I should say, I could section it out pretty nicely and get my introvert on. And
That's your bedroom now. Don't come out before entering.
you just announce knock knock. As silly as that is. But yeah, like nomad life fits me well for that reason. And I feel like it fits most people that are nomadic or in some level introverted. Maybe I'm projecting on that. I don't know. But most of the people that I know that live in some kind of nomadic lifestyle, they have some level of like introversion that they either it's they don't want to admit it, but it's true kind of thing. They're like, no, introvert's a bad thing. I don't want to be an introvert. I'm an extrovert kind of thing. But they're really an introvert, or they're like, oh yeah, no, 100%. I honestly, I hate this interaction right now. That kind of thing.
Stop talking.
Can we stop talking now?
Face that way, please.
Yeah, we can talk. Just don't look at me, okay? No eye contact. Oh, I love that. What else about nomadic life is good?
Well, I can tell you one hard journey. Because, see, I didn't come to the nomad. I did exactly what we're talking about not doing.
What's that?
I just bought an RV trailer.
You jumped in.
My lease was coming up.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's how you got started.
Yeah. And my kids were out of the house now. It was just me in a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom lease. And I'm like, man, this is more work for me to live here by myself than for me to maybe live in an apartment or somewhere else. And so, yeah, I was like, started looking at RVs. Well, I had a buddy, friendship.
Oh.
I had a friend from college who he was living in an RV. And he was like, well, you might think about an RV. I think it's going to be a lot cheaper than an apartment. And he showed me his RV, and he showed me around it. He had a bathroom with a door. He had a sink and a fridge and all this stuff and a bed. And I was like, wow, you got it's like a whole village in here. You know, you got everything you need. And this is coming from the perspective of severely austere. Like, I have a cot in a tent with 60 other people in Iraq. My space is wherever my bags sit. And, so, I'm looking at this RV and I'm like, man, this is better than Iraq. This is even better than Afghanistan, for me as a Marine during that time. And I was like, okay, man, where do I sign? And so I started looking at websites and looking at RVs, deciding what I wanted. And yeah, so I bought it about 3 months before my lease was up. And one of the hardships of that is getting rid of 4 bedrooms, 2 baths worth of
Stuff.
nonsense.
Yeah.
Couches, mattresses, TV stands, anything furniture. Because guess what? furniture is already built into the RV.
You got no place to put furniture.
You don't have to worry about furniture. It's already built in.
Yeah.
So-
More importantly, you can't take that furniture. You can't just go and put a regular sized fridge into an RV. That ain't happen. I mean, maybe some RVs, but most no.
I mean, you can't if you're going to use it as an RV.
There you go. That's exactly it. If you're into travel,
It's got to come in and
yeah, there's the things of your previous life do no longer fit in this place. Yeah.
find out the difficult journey of getting rid of all your stuff.
Oh man.
I had a garage sale. I rotated. This is how much stuff I had. Rotated stuff to the curb of what was legal for my homeowning association to have on the curb.
You rotate. What is you would put stuff out for a week and then they didn't take, then you put something else out? Is that how it worked?
Well,
Or you just waited till it was taken and then you put the next load out?
it's more like put more things out
Oh, okay, keep it
a
fresh.
few days and not pull the old stuff back in.
Oh man, see, you were lucky to be living in a home that you could do that. I was in an apartment. How do you get rid of, you can't have a garage sale in an apartment. I went through the same process, by the way. I think everyone does that when they move into that nomadic lifestyle. You have to downsize. When I started, I didn't think it was such a hard thing to do. By the time I got done, I was like, I never want to do that ever again. I don't know if your experience was that way or not, but I was like, I'm never going to have so much stuff I have to do this with it again. But I was in the same process. I had to use Facebook Marketplace. And I was blessed to live literally in the parking lot of a Buc-ee's. If you look on Google Maps hard enough, I bet you can figure out where in Denton that is. I don't live there anymore, so I don't care. But I lived right next to a Buc-ee's, and so what I could do is just tell people, come to the Buc-ee's. And for those that don't know, that aren't in Texas, Buc-ee's is like the Walmart of gas stations. It's humongous. Like they got 1,000 pumps, and like they have a clothing store inside the gas station and bathroom, like a 30 stall bathrooms and crazy stuff. Anyway, I could say, come to the Buc-ee's and I'll have the stuff there. And what they didn't know was once they got to the Buc-ee's, it was like, hey, pull around the Buc-ee's to the apartment behind there, and that's where I'm at. And that was where I lived, and gave them whatever stuff I was getting rid of. It took months to get rid of it all. And I lived in an apartment. I didn't even have that much stuff to get rid of, I thought. But I had closets. Those closets are full of stuff.
Oh, those back closets. They can't sneak up on you.
You think you don't have that much stuff until you open the closets. Then you're like, holy cow, I have a lot of stuff. And this is actually a good point to talk about. How hard was the downside? Did you have to get rid of things that you really would rather have not gotten rid of? Because I know personally I got rid of some things I was like, man, I really don't want to, but if I am to do this, I can't take this with me. Were you in that?
Well, I had a lot of stuff. Right?
Yeah.
50 years, I had stuff from the Marine Corps. I had uniforms. I had coin collection. And then
the collections. Collections are not a thing you get to keep once you go mobile. That's a really small, like stamp collection or something.
What is it? The anathema of collection?
Yes.
Like the lack of collection. It's like, I don't need more than one of these.
Yes.
Like there's no way to collect.
I have 2 forks and 1 spoon. That's it.
And I have 3 forks and 2 spoons.
You know how many forks and spoons you have. Do you?
2 cutting knives.
Yes, I was going to say it. How many knives do you have? I have 1 cutting knife. It is my everything knife. I use it for packages. I use it for food, everything. That one knife is my knife. But yeah, anyway. The downsize hurts like a little bit. There's some things you're like, I don't know if maybe I want this in the future. The hardest thing for me to downsize were I guess collected the things I had collected. For me personally, I love retro video games. And so I had a large collection of retro video games and the consoles. The games can be emulated. They can be, there's ways you can play the games, but to play them on the original systems with the original, like actual CRT, big chunky TV kind of thing, you can't do that without the stuff. You have to have all the pieces. You have to have the original console, the game, the TV, all this huge and heavy. And I had to get rid of the CRT, which is, they're getting hard to find. I actually made a lot of money selling these things, which helped ease the blow, to help pay for the van. which was great. But the whole time I was selling those things, I was like, if I sell this now, the chances of me being able to buy it later are very much less.
Right.
There's a point at which I would not buy these again. The cost would be more than I would be willing to pay. And I knew that going in. I was like, it's collectibles. Collectibles go up in value, especially if they're in demand or they're lessening in quantity over time, which retro video games are definitely in that camp.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, am I okay with this? am I okay to let go of all that? And I had to make hard decisions. I kept the portable consoles. I still have my Game Boy games. I kept those, and I kept my Game Boys and all the portable consoles. But I got rid of every console, like the big TV ones. All of them are gone. That hurt.
Yeah, mine. I had an unexpected, different
Oh yeah.
way that story went for me, and that was like I had board games.
Oh man, I love board games.
From the last
Oh.
30 years,
And you had a
I
pair.
still have a board game from when I was 16.
Wow. Which game is it?
Solar Quest.
Oh yeah, we didn't get to play it that well. Oh, we did. We did play it one round or something.
Did we?
I think we did.
Yeah, we did.
I was like, because you were so excited to play it, I was like, I can't. I've never even heard of this game. I gotta play it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's still good.
that's good.
And I still love it. But yeah, that's out of, let's say, 40 to 50 games that were important to me.
Wow.
That was the one.
So did you?
I'd probably say 5 or 6.
I was about to ask. Did you say I can get to keep one
Right.
or?
Willingness to play. Board games don't take up a lot of space in an RV.
It's true.
But yeah, so I had to make some hard decisions.
I myself own a board game that travels with me everywhere. And in fact, I had to move it today. It's always in the way, and I'm okay with that. Of course, I chose the biggest of all games, which is Frosthaven, the sequel to Gloomhaven. Literally a 35-pound box, the size of a tree trunk. So it's not like, it's like 7 games put together. I carry this one game with me everywhere because when I go to a friend's house, we get like 2 of us together, 3 of us together. We're going to have a Gloomhaven or a Frosthaven night. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And talking about going back to friendships, like that's one of the things I enjoy most about friendships is cooperative games. Games you work together. Oh, I love it. It's so much fun to me. And Frosthaven and Gloomhaven are for those that don't know, they're the most brutal way to experience pain as in a group setting. That's the best.
Breaking your heart.
Yeah, it hurts you so much to play together, but you grow through that pain together, right?
Okay, there you go.
So, hey, that's why I like them. You lose more than you win sometimes, especially early on.
We went on the game rabbit trail, but what I was going to share was something positive that happened.
Okay.
There was a game, it was called Axis and Allies.
Oh, yeah, for
It had the original, it was
early edition.
It was original back then.
Gotcha.
And it bought new in stores in the 90s, in the 90s. And played it in Okinawa with other service members every Friday or something.
Okay.
At a Christian Serviceman Center over there. And so, played it over and over and over. Most of the time lost. Maybe lost every time. But it was complex, had plastic pieces, a big map.
The fiddly bits. Love the fiddly bits.
Refought World War II over and over and over again. Right? And so I bought it, and I had it, and I played it a few times with some guys that I had over the house, other Marines. But mostly it is sitting there traveling, not around the world, but pretty close around America. And with me as I moved from base to base to base. And then when I got out, moved to a few times after I got out. And it was like, it's one of those board games that you look at it and you're like, what game is this? You got
you dusted off. Yeah. Oh.
It's sitting up there that long without being played. I had strategy guides I printed off back when we first got computers and printers in the Marine Corps. I printed off these thick, 30. They had the little dots down the side, little holes for the.
Oh yeah, like a dot matrix printer. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Printed off these strategy guides for the next time I played Axis and Allies, and read every one, and there they were stacked inside the box. You know, from the last time I thought I'd play them, probably back 95 or so. But anyway, so when I gave away, when I put that in the giveaway, get rid of pile, I realized it's like it gave me something back, like a
You got a little bit of freedom.
piece of me.
You got a little
came
piece of
back
you.
from it.
Yeah.
It was like a little chunk in the, what is it, for the tent stake that was holding me in place.
Oh, yeah.
Just chunk away
Yeah.
to get rid of that stuff. And some of it's really sentimental, just like that board game, but I put it in a pile and I expected to feel terrible loss.
Yeah.
And I felt like, I feel better.
I love that you've said this about this because that's exactly what ended up happening with most of those game consoles. I can play them anywhere on any phone I've ever had. You can just emulate them, like all those retro. It's not, and you can fit every game that ever came out on that system on a single thing the size of your thumbnail. Why was I worried so much about selling them? I realized this. It opened something up in me. I was like, this thing tethered me. It like,
oh, I love that word, tethered.
If I left it, I felt wrong to be away from it. But when I was around it, it had no bearing on my life. Like I could have played those games, and in fact, most of the time I did just play them on my phone. If I was going to play an older game, a great example, Chrono Trigger, you can buy it in the App Store. It's not everything. Awesome game, SNES, right? Most of the time, if I played that game, I would play the one that was on my phone because that save game was on my phone. I wasn't going to play the one at home, right?
Right.
And so, but I had the game. It was a thing I just had. It was, and just so you know, an original copy of Chrono Trigger is very expensive. Like, I don't know, I think it's like $200, $300 now for one game. One game. I could buy a pile of micro SD cards from Micro Center and just put it on every single one of those 100 times over, and it would cost less than the price of the one actual original game. And when I got rid of it, I realized, oh wow, a part of me was entangled with that thing, that a physical object, and by not having it, I feel more free.
Right.
And I didn't expect to feel that.
Yeah, that was unexpected for me too.
I knew the freedoms I was going to gain, the ones from the van. I didn't realize the freedoms I was going to gain from the lack of things, which is, I guess, minimalism. I found out later that's a thing. Apparently, a lot of people go through. They don't like the want of stuff or whatever. And I was like, oh man, I can't ever be original. Someone's always done it already. So whatever.
I mean, Ecclesiastes kind of does let us know there's nothing new under the sun.
That is my favorite book of the Bible. I don't know if you know that. It's very pessimistic. It's the most pessimistic book of the Bible, and I love it for it.
There's a time to die. Like
Yeah.
Cameron's like,
Yes, there is. Tell me about it.
a time to suffer? Tell me a time to suffer.
Don't they quote that at like weddings and stuff? I always found that so crazy. I was like, at a wedding, I was like, this book is very depressing. It's essentially a suicide note from King Solomon. So
Whoa.
he doesn't actually commit suicide, but he did everything that you would do in a suicide note. So we went a little bit, I'm sorry, trigger warning for those that are watching, but he doesn't, spoiler alert. And also he grows by the end. I highly recommend reading it. If you hate the Bible, you're going to love Ecclesiastes.
For comfort. We cast it like,
Ecclesiastes is amazing. I love it. It's such a good book.
If you need a pessimist guidebook,
It's short too, so if you don't got time, I'm just saying, like you can get through it in like it's like 3 chapters or something.
well, I don't even know how we could go any higher. Although I have other things we could explore, but let's just go ahead and have a time for the last thing we're going to talk. Whatever it is.
What is the last thing though?
I don't know. Whatever it is.
You got notes there.
Well, I've said almost. Oh, here's the one thing.
I'm ready.
Let's wrap it up with maybe a look at cost.
What a good thing to close out on.
And lack thereof.
Oh, it's the lack of. I can tell you, spoiler alert. It is the lack of.
Yes.
Oh man.
What a treat. Let me give you some numbers here. So I was renting the 4-bedroom, 2-bath I talked about for about $2,600 a month. No, for $1,600 a month, but it was costing me $26.
All the other things you had to have with it.
Sewer, You know, lawn care.
Lawn care.
I'm in an HOA. You know, all this stuff. So it tallies up to much greater. But then I went and said, well, let me look at apartment costs. Oh, wow.
It's about the same.
Also $2,100 a month.
Yeah.
Without a garage, you know, and without
Little things you give up, and you get very little for the things you save. Very little for the things you give up. Yeah, I agree with that.
So you gain a pool maybe and a little gym over here.
Put the quotes on the pool. You gain a pool. Will you use it? Oh, probably not. Would you want to? No.
So I compared my current rent to an apartment first, and I was like, man, there's got to be some other option, you know, that's cheaper. And that's when I run into my friend who showed me his RV, and then, you know, he started talking about he pays $400 a month, electricity included. So that's it for his rent. He has the payment on his RV, which is low also. And so I can give you some more numbers. I can give you my numbers, and my numbers were...
Tell us your numbers. I want to know your numbers.
Living in the RV... On an RV park, I was paying $268 for the RV payment, and I was paying for let's just say $500 for the place I lived, electricity included, water
included. What? Man, he's making a case for me right now.
And so what? Let's roughly add. Let's just say it's 700. I know it's somewhere underneath that.
Rough it at 7.
700.
I'm just saying, rough estimate 700. Man,
Let's go high, and it's maybe $800. Okay, let's throw some more on there. A month, or $2,600 a month. How much money? Well, no, I'd rather give this much money for the same thing I get down here. Oh, and down here also freedom.
Yeah, it's good. It's a really convincing argument when we look at the money.
I mean,
that's what got me. I give some numbers because that's actually what convinced me to do it. Or actually, I should put it this way. It's the thing I realized I could talk to other people about that were going to tell me I was crazy to go live in a van, you know, down by the river. We haven't said that joke yet, so we got to get it in. That's the other thing about van life. It's a whole other rabbit trail. They'll always make fun of you for that, especially if you're a guy down by the river, whatever. It's a thing. Anyway, I was like, if I tell someone this plan, they're going to call me crazy. I have to have a locked-in reason. Right. And the thing that was the reason that I could use to tell other people and not feel like a crazy person was the finances. Because I was paying for apartments, and I had to keep moving. I had the same job, but I moved 3 times to stay in the area, and I had to keep moving because apartments raise your rent every year. It was something they don't talk about, but God, it gets annoying really quick. You find an awesome apartment, and they move you in, and you're paying like $900 a month or something, and then after 2 or 3 years of living there, now you're paying like $1,400 for the same. Nothing has changed. They haven't added a new bathroom to your house or something. No, it's the same place you lived in, a little more worse for wear that you're paying 20, 30, 40% more for. Very frustrating. So I was tired of that. And real numbers wise, right? When I moved out of my last apartment, they were going to raise my rent to $1,350 a month for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment, which I was like, that's too much. I mean, I remember when I first moved into an apartment, that was what a house payment was. And now here I am paying what essentially is a house payment for an apartment, which I have no equity in. I don't get to keep anything from. It's just like taking your money and flushing it in the toilet every month. And then on top of that, that's just the raw cost of the apartment. I still had to pay for trash pickup, which they force you to have in most apartments in Texas. I had to pay for the service fee of the apartment, which I still don't know what they did exactly service-wise. I had to pay the renter's insurance for the apartment, which was about $50 a year, so it wasn't all that much. But actually, by the time I moved out, it was $120 a year. Okay. So it went up in price. So $10 a month, still not that much. And then they had, what was the other thing? It's trash, renter's insurance, service fee, and something. It was another fee. Anyway, but all said and done, it was $1,600 a month that I had to pay for the apartment. That's just the apartment. I still had to pay for electricity. I had to pay for, of course, internet, cell phone, those things, car insurance, my car, all those things. And on top of the apartment, all said and done, I was out at about $2,600 a month for all of my expenses. $2,600, $2,600 a month I had to pay to exist. If I stopped paying for things, all of those things, I was homeless. I would flip it around, right? And I was like, this is ridiculous. If I get fired or if I have any kind of financial trouble, something comes up, I will miss these payments. At least a few of those are going to get lost, if not all of them, depending on what the emergency was. And I had no savings paying all that much money to live. And I was like, this is a tightrope I've been walking for a really long time, and I've gotten really lucky not falling off the tightrope. I didn't realize that when I started this journey, it was as wide as a sidewalk, but now I have no leeway. And it was that realization. I was like, okay, well, how much does a van cost? And like, just, hard numbers, pre-pandemic, I paid 25 grand for my van. Now they're worth a lot more now. So it's still, I think, a good deal, but I got a really great deal on my van. And so breaking across, 3 years, and it ends up being about $600 a month, something like that for the van. Now I was already paying 200 and something, 300 and something for a car. So it's like, well, I'm only paying an addition of like $300 or so for a van that is also my rent. And then if I'm in the van, well, I have solar panels. So that's my electric. And just, FYI tip, if you live in the sticks and bricks or any kind of thing, always get solar if you can. It will always pay for itself. Just give it time. It will always eventually pay for itself. I'm not an environmentalist or anything like that. It's just a good idea. But the electricity is free for me now. I mean, I paid for it on the front end, and it's already paid for itself many times over versus what I used to pay for electricity. And I was like, well, what else is left out of that? Phone, internet, and insurance for my car. So all in, my entire monthly cost of living right now is $998, $2 less than $1,000, less than $1,000 a month. That's all it takes to live. And I'm almost paid off on my van. I got 2 or 3 months left on it. And then my cost of living goes down to $400. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's real good. All that extra money I'm saving, I'm not paying for the van. I can save that. I can use that for gas, like go more places. Like I have options.
Yeah.
So circling back to the finances thing, what does the finances give you in nomadic life? Freedom. Yeah. Even the finances do. Yeah. I don't know, that was probably too long-winded, but hey, I wanted to talk about it because this is the biggest point for me. I think it is a good point to end on, for sure. But yeah, thank you for really teasing that out a little bit for us and letting us know a little bit more about it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of details in there. You probably can just cut it down, but at the same time, like some people ask me those hard numbers, and it's easy because I have those in my head all the time because I had to. That's the thing I can tell people, and it makes sense to anybody. I don't seem like a crazy person anymore when I say that. They're like, oh, okay, so you're paying nearly a third what you used to pay to live every month? That's kind of nice. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, I don't have to earn as much money. I can do what I like. I can choose the jobs I enjoy more because of it. Sure. I get to travel more because of it. Like, there's so many things that one part of the overall puzzle adds to the freedom level of the overall experience. Is it comfortable, though? I don't know. I think freedom is its own comfort. You think about like the verses, it's not really the enemy of comfort when it becomes the comfort, like you said. So, yeah. Anyway. Well, okay. Thank you for those closing thoughts, and we're going to say goodbye. Bye.